Estimates.
Hello, and welcome to the Advanced CESS Workshop, Section 3, CESS Trails, Assemblies, and Productivity Tools. In these sessions, we'll be using assemblies to generate our items to the spreadsheet. We'll do a much deeper dive on assembly takeoff in Section 4, Pipeline, but we'll use assemblies here to quickly populate our spreadsheet and focus on the main topic of this section, which is using WBS codes. WBS stands for Work Breakdown Structure. That's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to take your spreadsheet items and organize them into sections of trails. We'll be taking off an entire trail, and we're going to divide the estimate into 3 parts of the trail. We'll also cover some spreadsheet navigation and productivity tools. We'll briefly do a review. Some of this we covered in the basic workshop. And we'll also talk about navigation shortcuts and show you how to find those so that you can move more quickly through lists and some of the bigger spreadsheets you may be producing. We'll open the trails estimate that we created in Section 2.
Folders on left.
Again, navigate to your region, to your park, to the other folder, and then find your username. Find your trails estimate and a double click or a right click and open. We'll open your estimate in CESS.
Estimate opens.
Let's look at a couple of navigation tips and tricks. The first one will be resizing a window. Remember that your takeoff icons in the toolbar menu are located here.
Center.
And as you move from left to right, you'll find quick takeoff, item takeoff, and assembly takeoff that we'll use in this section, along with model takeoff and then the one-time item you used in the last section.
Quick takeoff screen opens.
Let's look at quick takeoff just to explore sizing a window. Once you've sized your window to get it in the size and position in your viewing area that you want, if you'll hold your Shift key down when you close the window, the next time you open that window, it will appear in that size and that position in your viewing area. Again, hold the Shift key down when you close a window pane, and that locks that position and that size. Also, help with the scroll bar. Our database contains thousands and thousands of items, and scrolling to them can be a daunting task. If you grab the button, notice that the title bar will reflect the location of the database list that you're in, and this is going to be true with any scroll bars that you use throughout CESS. If you're trying to get down to say 06, you can get that far and then let go, and it will open in that position that it just showed you in the title bar. When you get close to the area that you're looking for and you want to navigate more, using the expand button,
right side,
will open the database list to the item level. From here, you can use the up arrow or the down arrow to incrementally click through individual rows. To page up or page down, simply click between the button and the up arrow to page up, or between the button and the down arrow to page down. When you're ready to move to another complete section, it often can be much quicker to collapse the spreadsheet and scroll again or page down till you get into the area you're looking for. Pick a promising phase and then click Expand All. Here, use your page up and page down to navigate to your items. Shortcut keys.
Closes quick takeoff.
If you go to Help on the menu bar, go to Help Topics,
Drop down,
and to Index.
middle tab.
Type in Shortcuts and click the Display button here at the bottom. And here you can find your hotkeys for model interview, navigation, spreadsheet keys, Let's just take a quick look. Let's select navigation keys and hit display.
Navigation keys.
And these will give you your control arrows, your far right column, top of column, bottom of column. Again, you can hit display again, pick your miscellaneous keys, and here you'll go with F1 displaying help for a particular window that you happen to be in. F2 is used a lot. We'll use it in this exercise, in this section. F2 is a universal edit key, and what we'll learn is that when we expand and collapse in the spreadsheet, double-clicking also expands and collapses along with the plus and minus signs on the toolbar. So double-click doesn't necessarily let you edit a particular row, particularly overline or summary rows, as you'll find out in this section. We use the F2 key quite extensively to edit the overline and the summary levels. We went to Help on the menu bar, we went to Index, and typed in Shortcuts. And we hit Display, and that gives you the list of navigation keys or hotkeys that allow you to quickly move through your spreadsheet and the CESS application in general. Section 3, Activity 1. Plan the estimate organization by setting up your WBS code values. We'll use the Item Takeoff Setting icon. It's a little blue icon here on the toolbar.
Center of toolbar.
It's meant to represent a floor plan with an arrow pointing to a particular room or location. When you do a single click here, it opens up the pane and lists the WBS codes that are available to us in this particular estimate. And we're going to use a generic WBS code called WBS 08. And it's one that you can use to do any type of organizational structure that you want. You want to leave uniformat to use the uniformat values when you're, for instance, using a PMIS report. Work order is built to store your work order number. PMIS comp is again for a PMIS component value here. We'll talk a little bit about the dialog here now. There are really three things to consider when we talk about a WBS code. A code itself is simply the name of the position of a WBS code. Value is how CESS will use to organize in ascending order the values that you type here. 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. We're going to use a representative value, 01 dot.
Value column.
Simply to represent the first position in our organizational structure. I'll talk a little bit about why we do a 1 and why we do a dot as we move through and add the additional codes. So value is simply how your items will be sequenced when you choose to sequence by WBS 08. Description is what we call that value. And our first value, 01, we're going to name trailhead to bridge. So we'll be estimating the section from the trailhead of the complete trail just to the bridge. And we're going to have three sections here: trailhead to bridge, the bridge itself, and then the bridge to the waterfall. Three sections of trail that we're going to identify by 1, 2, 3, with 1 being represented by 01 dot, 2 will be 02 dot, 3 will be 03 dot. And the reason we use the dot is if you ever needed to interweave or put something between 1 and 2, the dot would act as a suffix and would allow you to put a great number of trail portions in between 1 and 2 should you choose to do that in the future. But 1, 2, 3 would work perfectly. 10, 20, 30 would work perfectly. 10, 20, 30 being a schema that would also allow you to interweave or add things in between trail parts if you needed to later on. ABC again, if you went A dot, B dot, C dot, you'd be able to interweave. If you just go ABC, it's going to be difficult for you to put something between A and B and have it sort in the way you'd like to. Now description is a 70-character field, and we can add notes which is a 1520 character field.
Third column.
And notes allow you to put a true narrative into your estimate, so you can really explain what's going on in this section, trailhead to bridge. So you'll be typing clear brush on existing 1800 foot long trail and add signage every 300 feet. Now notice the paperclip. The paperclip is a universal symbol in CESS for a note. You're going to learn that you're allowed to put notes on every row in your spreadsheet, including the overline or summary rows. Items can have notes, WBS values can have notes, phase can have notes, group can have notes. What you must do here when you put an entry and a value description and an optional note, before you enter the next value, you must click OK. Otherwise, you're just overriding that field. So the key thing to remember in building your WBS codes is to click OK between the entries. Now once you've done that, this value is locked in and becomes part of your estimate and can be accessed from many parts of the spreadsheet. This isn't the only way to add or manipulate a WBS value. It's just a very popular one. We'll go ahead and click close and begin our estimate now. And as we click close, notice that the item takeoff setting buttons remains pushed in. And that means it's active. Every item row, no matter what method of takeoff you use, item takeoff, quick takeoff, assembly takeoff, even model takeoff, all your items will be tagged with the value 01 dot in every item row that you copy into your spreadsheet. So the thing you remember when you set a WBS is only estimate those parts of the project that relate to that first 01 dot. Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 1 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 2. Take off a trail assembly. Open your trails estimate if you don't have it opened already. Make sure that if you've left the activity and come back that you're still coded to 01 dot trailhead to bridge. You can right click and use the list WBS 08 to pick, by using estimate as the source, any value that you've created. You'll simply click it and click OK if it's not already there, and then click OK again and click close. So make sure your takeoff settings, takeoff item settings WBS is pushed in. And we'll move to assembly takeoff, the third icon of your takeoff icons here.
Assembly takeoff page opens with 3 panes.
And this is a good time to stop and size your pane. Remember to get it in a position here where you've got real estate. You can see the 3 assembly panes. We'll talk more about this in section 4 when we do the piping. Take a moment, hold your shift key down, click close. It will size and position the pane for you for the next time you come in and do assembly takeoff. There's a find or go-to feature in Assemblies that will search on the assembly description, not the assembly ID, which is the uniformat organized alphanumeric here, but it searches on the description. For instance, here, spread footings. You access that by hitting the binoculars.
Left on toolbar.
You'll click the binoculars and you can search again. Note on description, you can put in partial values. It's not case sensitive. Decide from your position in the list whether you want to start from the beginning or not.
Find box opens.
This find can be quite time consuming, and if you're not sure where your assemblies are, you need to locate them. It's a great way to go, but when you click, there'll be quite a delay while it scans through the large number of assembly descriptions that you have in your database. I'm going to click cancel here now. We're going to use the jump feature. I'll type here and we'll be typing the assembly ID, and we'll be able to jump in the list to the assembly that we're looking for. You'll have that ID in the book. I'll give it to you here in the recording as well. So to get down to the trails assemblies, I'm just going to type a capital G 2040. So capital G 2040. Note that it jumps right to G2040. And then we can take a look around here and know that we're looking for trail assemblies. Ultimately, we'll be looking for the trail assembly 930, and we want to find the N100. If you remember in our note, we talked about brush clearing 1800 lineal foot of trail. The N, by the way, notes an NPS specific assembly. The majority of assemblies in CESS are RS means assemblies, but there are quite a number of park specific assemblies as well, and you'll be able to identify park specific assemblies by noting the N in the assembly ID. Once you've located your assembly, you double click, and that loads the items into the item grid and the variables up here into the variable pane. We'll want a quantity of 1 representing one trail. To move down in the variable list, you can mouse click, you can use a tab. I prefer the Enter key. If you're on a desktop computer and you have a 10 keypad, you can stay right on the 10 keypad. Most entries you put into your variables are numeric. Hitting the Enter key or carriage return after an entry locks the value in and moves you nicely down into the next variable field, just as if you were using a 10 keypad on a calculator. So 1's already there. We'll accept that by hitting carriage return. Then we type 1800, hit the Enter key or carriage return again. We'd like a clearing width of 3 and a grub width of 2. We'll leave the extra labor variables as no stock team, no helicopter. When you run into a yes/no question, Y can be yes, N can be no, but you can stay on your 10 keypad. 1 is yes, 0 is no. When you've completed the entries, you use the purple plus, the Add Pass button here, that will execute those variables against the formulas in the assembly and put the results here. Notice that you've put in feet, but the calculation has nicely returned acres to match the takeoff unit with each item that you've selected. At the bottom of the item grid is a status bar. It recaps the total quantity, the total cost, and then divides that quantity into that cost and expresses your pass 1 in a cost per, in this case, lineal foot to match the takeoff unit. If we move across and horizontally scroll, you'll see that your O1 dot was nicely placed here for you in the WBS 08 column. We're going to sequence by that WBS 08 in just a little bit. Click OK.
Bottom right of pane.
And then click Close.
Bottom right. Assembly takeoff closes.
And you'll see your items have been placed into your spreadsheet. Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 2 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 3. Modify a spreadsheet sequence. If you've exited CESS, log back in, find your trails estimate, and open it. From here, we're going to build a sequence tab so we can now view in our spreadsheet the organizational structure we're creating in the WBS code WBS 08. If you look down at these tabs, we refer to these as sequence tabs. They can appear to function as a worksheet within a workbook in spreadsheet programs, but they're not. The closest equivalent to a spreadsheet program the sequence tabs have would be a pivot table, if you're familiar with that in other spreadsheet programs. Currently, we're organized here by phase item. Notice we have group, phase, and item here. We're going to switch that structure. With the items and the cost of the estimate remaining the same, we're simply going to sequence now by a particular WBS code. Easy way to get there, find the Location Phase Sequence tab and double-click.
Fourth tab from the left on the bottom. Pop-up opens.
And that opens up your spreadsheet sequence dialog. There are 4 user-defined spreadsheet sequences available to you, and you access them through the pull-down here. Notice location phase is number 1. If you look at the sequences at the bottom, though, you'll see phase item, takeoff order, and assembly are listed here before your first user-defined sequence, location phase. Phase item, takeoff order, and assembly are system sequences. You cannot edit them, you cannot delete them. They're going to be there, they're going to be present in every estimate. It's the next 4 that you can control yourself. And we're going to edit location phase, and we're going to change that into a WBS 08 assembly sequence. Now we do that using the buttons here in the middle between the 2 panes. Here is a list of available elements you have that you can use for your sequence tabs. When you build a sequence tab, you can add up to 10 elements here. We're only using 2 today. So to remove location and phase, simply highlight one of the values and use the bottom less than button here to move phase back into the element list. Single click. Location has focus now. We'll use the remove button here and it moves it back into the list. We want to find WBS 08, and these are sequenced alphanumerically in ascending order. WBS will be towards the bottom in the W's, so we'll vertically scroll down, WBS 08, and now we use the greater than button to add that element to the sequence tab. We want to find assembly, that would be A, it'll be up at the top. Click on assembly, add that to the sequence tab. Now if they're not in the right hierarchy, and today we want WBS 08 to be on top, you can change the priority by using these up and down arrows. So that would move assembly up, that would move assembly down. Note that the tab name inherits the element names and concatenates them together here for you, and that will work nicely for us today. When you use several elements here, the tab can be quite large. The software allows you to then type in here and give the tab a name if you have several elements in here and the tab appears to be too large for you. When you have that, go ahead and click OK, and you'll get a second OK telling you that changing a spreadsheet sequence requires that the estimate be recalculated. Remember that these elements are going to have subtotals or summary level totals, and this step allows the software to recalculate those subtotals for you. Just simply click OK, and notice that your sequence tab now appears. We're also sequencing now by WBS 08 and assembly. There's your 01 dot along with your description. Paperclip indicates a note. If you right click anywhere on the row and choose notes, there your note will appear.
Trailhead to bridge notes open.
Notes are also a column.
Click close on the note box.
Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 3 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 4. Move the Trail Activity Waterbar item in the spreadsheet. The Trail Waterbar item we built in Section 2 has a value of unassigned in both WBS and assembly sequence. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. All it means is this particular item does not have a value for WBS 08. It does not affect the total cost of the estimate. Your estimate stays the same. The item is still part of your estimate, and its costs are being carried into subtotals, carried into the grand total of the estimate, and it's being marked up by the add-ons. For the assembly sequence, this item was not copied to the spreadsheet from an assembly. It's a one-time item, so it will always have a value of unassigned in the assembly sequence. That's not an error or something undesirable. However, if you plan to use assembly as a sequence in a report, unassigned may not be as attractive as items that have WBS values. And now that you understand how WBS works in your spreadsheet, you can plan accordingly. Select the one-time item and open the Detail window.
Select Trail Water Bar. Clicks Detail window.
You'll see there is a WBS tab similar to Item Takeoff Settings with the same controls. Here you can add or create WBS values on an item-by-item basis. Note the water bar item does not have a value. Click on one of the assembly items and note the value assigned during assembly takeoff, 01 dot, and the description. Our goal in Activity 4 is to change the WBS value in our one-time item from unassigned to 01 dot. We'll close the Detail window and introduce another feature, Move Copy. To access the Move Copy command, use the leftmost gray row tab, known as the row header. Notice how the mouse arrow changes from the diagonal white arrow to a horizontal black arrow as you hover over it. The context menu available here is different than the context menu on the row.
Scrolls through drop-down menu to move copy.
The command assigns a WBS value, and because we're sequencing by the WBS value, we're populating the item, and it moves into place according to the value you assign. This is not the same as cut, copy, paste. It's another way to assign WBS code values. When you choose Move Copy, you'll have a choice to move an item by assigning a value or copying an item to a WBS value.
Move or copy.
Make sure you stay with the Move option. It's the default. We want to assign the item to a value already present in the spreadsheet. Use the List button, and you'll see a list of database values with database as the source. Click Estimate, and you'll view the values already used in the spreadsheet. This list is available from several parts of CESS. Values are added to the estimate as you create them. Select 01 dot and click OK.
Bottom left.
Once the value is created, you don't need to type it again. You pick it from that point forward. Verify you have Move selected, and 01 dot will be assigned to the item when you click OK, and the item will appear to move in the spreadsheet. You can also drag and drop. We'll move the summary items to 01 dot with a drag and drop using the row headers. Note the Pages symbol as we select and drag. Same as using Move Copy to assign WBS. Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 4 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 5. Customize the spreadsheet layout. We'll start by renaming the column WBS 08. You can rename columns to the specific use you plan in any estimate. This is an estimate-only change. At the column heading, right-click and select Column Properties. We're using WBS to identify sections of the trail, so we'll name it Trails ID. Click OK to save. In this estimate, in this sequence, WBS 08 is named the Trails ID. Continue to design the spreadsheet layout by hiding columns. Right-click the face column and select Hide Column. You can continue to hide columns from the spreadsheet to show only the category amount columns: labor amount, material amount, sub amount, equipment amount, and other amount. Or we can manage the columns from Spreadsheet Layout.
Center of toolbar.
Click the icon to the right of the binoculars on the toolbar, and you may see a system layout called Current Layout. If you made any changes in the spreadsheet view, you know it's a system layout when you see the greater and less than symbols on each side of a name. If you click Add, you'll get a default set of columns and sizes from the system that does not match your current layout. You'll be adding a new layout. When you wish to continue to modify your current layout, use Edit, and you will be editing the current layout. A quick way to capture your current spreadsheet view. Click Edit and start by naming your layout in the upper left box. In our case, it's your initials and then 08A totals with unit cost.
At the top of the sheet, types MK08 totals with unit cost.
As you view the rows top down, you are seeing the spreadsheet columns from left to right. Note the Trails ID column is here with a checkbox indicating it is visible. A cleared checkbox is a hidden column. Trails ID, Assembly ID, Description, Takeoff Quantity, Unit remain checked. And we're going to clear or hide any pricing details.
Pulls down the scroll bar on right.
Only check the boxes to show category amounts and deselect labor price and labor unit. Keep the labor amount. Clear material price and keep material amount. Clear vendor name. Sub amount stays. Sub name goes. Deselect equipment price and unit. Equipment amount stays. Other price and unit go. Other amount remains checked. Now we'll keep the total cost per unit and total amount and clear anything below total amount. Click OK.
Clicks OK at bottom right.
The spreadsheet layout is now saved and can be used in all estimates. You'll be able to select your new layout anytime your estimate has a WBS 08 Assembly Sequence tab. When you click OK, you now view the layout you've selected. The reason you selected or deselected two boxes is for the merged columns. There are two columns for total cost and unit. One is for the number, one is for the unit. CESS has removed the line between the merged columns for clarity. And if you want to adjust a merged column, a good way to start is to click the column header to identify the line between the columns and then adjust accordingly.
Adjusts the width of takeoff quantity column.
Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 5 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 6. Enter Overline Quantities. Subtotals in CESS are viewed on top of or over the items they subtotal and are referred to as overlines. Remember the status bar when we were running the assembly where the total cost was divided by the assembly quantity to show a unit cost. That information is presented here at the assembly overline in the spreadsheet. We have the ability, using WBS, to create our own unit costs based on user-defined values, both quantity and units. We'll start by entering our trailhead to bridge overline quantities as a cost per acre. We can total our acreage using a feature called Copy Sum. Click and drag to takeoff quantity values. Note the status bar returns the total, the lower right-hand portion of the bar. There is a Copy Sum icon. You can right-click and select Copy Sum.
Copy Sum icon at upper left of toolbar.
This command places the total value on your clipboard. You can then right-click in an overline quantity and paste the total. Very handy when you have a long series of quantities. The unit value is a 4-character field, and you simply type it. We'll use a lowercase ac for acre. And once you tab out of the entry, CESS divides the quantity into the total amount and displays the unit price based on the unit you have typed.
Adjusts the width of the total cost unit.
Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 6 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 7. Add more items to the Trailhead to Bridge work task. In this activity, we'll add more items to the first section of the trail work. You'll want to make sure that the WBS 08, now the trail's ID value, is set to 01 in the takeoff item settings. If you have exited CESS and returned, you must reset the WBS.
Item takeoff settings.
Return to Assembly Takeoff.
Clicks icon at center of toolbar.
And use the jump feature to go to G2040, and that's a capital G. Find the Trails Assembly folder, double-click to open, and scroll to 930.N010 right at the top. This is where we'll add the signage to the section of the trail. Double-click to load the assembly.
Signage pane opens.
We'll look at the calculator feature that's available for many of the numeric fields in CESS. We want to sign every 300 feet along our 1,800-foot trail section. Use the quantity variable, right-click, and select Calculator. F11 is also a hotkey. Use the Clear button to clear any default numeric value you don't want. Then type 1,800, the divide sign, and then type 300. You can use your Enter key or click OK to execute the formula, and the Enter key or clicking OK again will return the resulting value to the variable you launched from.
Clicks OK.
A favorite way to navigate the list is to hit the Enter key after each entry. This locks in your value and moves you down to the next variable. Signpost size, we'll type a 1 for a 4x4. We'll keep the default 8 for height. We'll change the number of posts to 1. And here we'll type a Y or a 1 for yes for a wood sign. And keep the defaults 12, 12, and 2 inches for the sign thickness. We will use concrete, and we'll add something for prep. Let's give it 1 hour. Once complete, click the purple Add Pass button.
Purple plus sign at center right.
Note that you have entered values in inches, feet, and each, and the assembly returns quantities in cubic yards, 1,000 board feet, and crew hours. Check the status bar for the total and the total cost per unit. Verify that this is reasonable for your work. To accept the result, click OK. The items now are added to your spreadsheet. Click Close. And because the trail ID value was preset, the items are sequenced under the first section of the trail. Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 7 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 8. Show the unit costs per square foot. Currently, we've displayed the unit cost of our trail in a cost per acre. It's been decided that our readers prefer a cost per square foot, and we'll get some practice using the calculator to make this change. Right-click the Overline Quantity. Choose Calculator.
Drop-down menu.
This time, keep the default value. As there are 43,650 feet in an acre, we'll type an asterisk for times and 43650. Click OK to multiply. Click OK again to return the value to the quantity field. Type the new unit, SF, The trail unit cost is now a cost per square foot. This shows how the overlines, the summary levels displayed, are controlled by you. They are user defined. Costs are built up in a granular way. We're using items with productivity, crews, material prices, equipment costs, generating category amounts that are summed into a row total that are automatically summed into the overline totals. Unit costs, the details, are derived from the overline totals and use user entries to complete the math and define the unit. It's easy to get summary level reports simply by collapsing your spreadsheet. There are no formulas to write. There are no worksheets to build. Everything is viewable from a single spreadsheet using the yellow expand, the plus sign, or the yellow collapse, the minus sign, on the toolbar to the left of the binoculars.
Top toolbar.
Also, a double click will expand or collapse from the spreadsheet rows. Because the use of double click to expand and collapse, you cannot double click to get focus for editing. Use F2 for editing the overline fields, especially in description. Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 8 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 9. Add the remaining WBS values. To add WBS values as you perform takeoff, return to Item Takeoff Settings. Click once to release. Click again to open the dialog. Build the last two values that we need to finish our estimate. Next will be O2 dot for value, tab to description, type bridge for the description, tab again into the notes field, and type build a new bridge over existing creek crossing. Now, most important, after each entry you must click OK to save your work. The OK saves your entry and adds it to the estimate list of values.
Clicks OK at bottom right of panel.
After you click OK, you can click on the values and select List. That's a right click.
Right clicks under Value at WBS 08. Chooses List from drop-down. New window opens.
And you can look at the two entries that you've made up to this point. If you don't click OK, the value will not be added to the list.
Clicks Cancel at bottom of window.
Add a third value while we're here. Let's type O3 dot. For description, we'll type bridge to waterfall, tab into the notes field, and type add water bars on existing trail. Click OK. Now click a left click in the right side of the value box. All your entries are listed. When you pick a value, the description and notes field will follow. Pick O2. Click OK. Click Close.
Clicks OK, then close at bottom right.
Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 9 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 10. Add the remaining work segments. If you've closed CESS since the previous activity, push the Item Takeoff Setting buttons twice to open the dialog and set the value to O2 Bridge. Click OK, close, and go to Assembly Takeoff. In this large list of assemblies, finding the tasks like roof repair, paving, finding trail work may be a challenge. You can use the Find or Go To Binocular icon on the toolbar to search on the assembly description field. This search can be a lengthy process as there are hundreds of assemblies. To save time, we'll jump to the location by typing the assembly ID. Bridges are located around G2044. Click once to get focus, then type a capital G followed by 2044. Find the Bridges folder,
Clicks folder,
and double-click to open. Scroll to 100.N106. A footbridge with wooden stringers, high rail with knees. Double-click to launch and enter these variables.
variable pane opens,
One bridge, quantity of 1, with a 10-foot span. Enter 4 for the width. Abutment height is 3. Abutment type is 1, and we'll use 2 bridge stringers with 8 posts and a railing height of 42 inches. The remaining variables stay as no. Click the purple plus the Add Pass button, then review the status bar at the bottom and verify the costs look reasonable to you. Click OK to accept and add the items to your spreadsheet. Your second trail section is complete. Go up to Item Takeoff Settings. Click once to release the dialog. Click again to open it. Click the pull-down tab in the Value column. Choose 03 for the last section of trail. Make sure you click OK. Click Close, and we're ready to estimate the bridge to waterfall section. Go back to the Open Assembly Takeoff window. Type a capital G 2040. Navigate to Trails. Double-click and look for 930.N911 timber water bar.
scrolls down,
Double-click to launch the assembly. Enter 36 for 36 water bars. Width will be 3. Keep the defaults for the other variables. Click the purple Add Pass button. Check the total price for all 36, and then check the price for a single water bar. Do the prices seem reasonable? Click OK. Click Close. In the spreadsheet, you'll now view your trail work sequenced by the 3 user-defined sections. Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 10 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 11. Enter more overline quantities. We'll add overline quantities to the remaining 2 trail sections as we've done to the first trail section. An easy way to view all the overlines is to use the collapse icon just to the left of the binocular icon on the toolbar. Click the minus sign once to collapse to the assembly level. Click again to collapse to the trail ID level. Type the new overline entries. Type 10 for the bridge quantity and lineal foot LF for the unit. Type 3000 for the bridge to waterfall section and LF again for the unit. Note how the overline quantities appear.
total cost per unit,
This gives us a typical use of overlines where different quantities and units develop multiple unit prices for the same overline total amount. Bridge is displayed as a cost per lineal foot and a cost per square foot. It's the user-defined numeric values that are the divisor into the total amount that derive the unit costs. Click the plus icon again to show the buildup of your unit costs, the detail level.
Page expands.
Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 11 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual. Activity 12, a challenge activity. Enhance the spreadsheet view. This activity is optional, time permitting, that explores the features that enrich your deliverable for your readers. You can hide columns from the spreadsheet. Right-click the assembly column and hide. Lengthen by dragging the description column. We're planning for a higher level of costs view where we hide details and only show the total amount and the summary level unit costs. Adjust the columns to the view you see here.
Highlights the 5 columns to the right of takeoff quantity. From drop-down chooses Hide Columns. Trail ID, Description, Takeoff Quantity, Total Cost per Unit and Total Amount remain. Highlights takeoff quantity and expands, then expands description.
Click the Spreadsheet Layout icon. Note the focus on the system current layout because edits were made from the spreadsheet. Remember to edit the current layout.
Click Edit.
Add a background color to Takeoff Quantity and Takeoff Quantity Unit.
Modify Spreadsheet Layout window appears. Clicks Background Color. Chooses lime green for takeoff quantity and unit.
Vertically scroll down to Total Cost per Unit. Look for the checks in the visible column and add a color to both the numeric value and the unit.
Chooses pink for both items.
Add a background color to total amount.
Selects orange for total amount.
We'll add the narrative to our spreadsheet by making the notes column visible. The notes column typically is at the bottom. Click the checkbox in the visible column and then move to the right and additionally click the checkbox in the wrap text. This will word wrap the notes field. Add a background color.
Click Sprite Blue.
You can click the notes field and use the reposition column up button to move notes up. You can also click on the row header on the far left and drag the notes column up to just under the description column.
Slides the notes column under description.
If you wish, you can name the layout to make it available in all estimates. Word wrapping will always take place in a printout. To show the wrapping here, widen the row at the upper summary level for Trails ID. This will make the lengthy notes column word wrap in the spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet now has 4 colorful columns next to the description.
Pause the recording and perform Section 3, Activity 12 in the Advanced CESS Workshop Manual.